All right, in this challenge, we want to add an HTML tag. And specifically, we want to add an h1 tag with the text hello inside of it. So part of what we're trying to do here is get you accustomed to the language people use when talking about programming concepts. In this challenge, we're talking about HTML, and specifically we have this idea of a h1 tag. So the reason that it's written out like this, we have these two brackets. We've got a bracket there and a bracket there, and in between them we have this h1. And altogether, we would consider this a tag, an HTML tag. So in HTML, the way the browser understands what is what, for instance, a paragraph or a heading or some italic text, some bold text, a sidebar, a header, there are all these different parts to an HTML document, a web page. And the way the browser knows what's what is it uses this idea of tags. And tags just tell it what's inside. So in this case, the one line we already have here, we have a p tag and a closing p tag. This second tag here is a closing p tag because it has this slash. You'll notice that opening tags, let's open a new one there. Opening tags and closing tags look exactly the same except for the slash that you're going to put there. So that's an opening and a closing tag in HTML. And in this case, we have the p here. Let's close that out. This is telling the browser that everything inside of here is part of a paragraph. And so in any document, you might have a number of paragraphs. And you'll see over here, the browser is rendering these paragraphs separately. They're not very long paragraphs, so you can't see the text wrapping yet. But that's the idea. The browser understands that there are multiple paragraphs here, and it's going to render them, in this case, with some space in between them, much like you'd expect if you were using a word processing program. And this can all be changed, and we'll talk about that in later lessons, how you can change the look and feel of things. But right now we're talking about HTML, which is analogous to the content, the text, the things that you're going to read and see on a web page. So going back to the challenge, we want to add an h1 tag. Now we can add any tag simply by opening up the brackets and typing the tag name. In this case, let's go with h1. And close it out. Oh. You'll notice over here, we have a much larger text. That's because h1 stands for heading 1. And 1 just means the priority, where the lower the number, the higher the priority. So an h1 is the largest text on a web page. At least that's how the browser will interpret it. If this was a blog, this might be the title of a blog post, say, or if this was a shopping page, this might be the title of the item that is being viewed right now that you might want to put into your cart. It generally denotes some text that's important relative to the overall context of the page. And so to finish out this challenge, we want to put the text hello inside of there. So just keep in mind that this idea of inside may or may not be intuitive, but it's much like if in just plain English or in mathematics, you can have something inside parentheses. Or you can also have something inside quotes. And this idea of inside is exactly the same with HTML tags. It just means that there's an opening and a closing something or other. In the case of parentheses, it's an opening parens and a closing parens. In the case of quotes, it's an opening quotation and a closing quotation. And depending on the font, these will actually be different, much like opening and closing parens are different, and opening and closing HTML tags are different. So going back up here, we want hello. So let's just put that, hello. And of course, it's not passing because we just need the exclamation mark. And there we go. We've got a successful challenge passed.